Building it brick by brick.
Tied knots in your garden hoses.
I am so sorry, y'all. This is Jacquie Luqman, and I was just wondering about you guys. I was really just wondering how you guys are, and if anybody was still awake at 3:46 Eastern Standard Time. Oh my God, there are 10 of you who are up. The 15 now, 21. Y'all are a bunch of, oh wow. So you mean to tell me none of y'all can sleep either? So I really did just want to check on the troops, man, because this night has been insane, right? And there's so much. There's so much. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Kat. Carol Lee, Andrew, Jasmine, Sean, who is on beer number 4. Oh, my gosh. Tado Kiari, I hope I pronounced that right. What is sleep now? Jasmine in Indiana. Joie, hey, honey, how you doing? Freedom from Nova. Did I hear about the, oh, I couldn't read that. The comments are going up so fast. Dude, David on the West Coast is not quite 1 a.m., so y'all are still like shell-shocked over there on the West Coast. Oh my gosh. So this night, I'm actually in our bedroom. I have on my pajamas, and I was sitting here thinking, I wonder who's still up on Real Progressives, and I figured I'd just dial in to check in with you guys to see how you're doing. First of all, honestly, in all seriousness, I wanted to see how you all were doing. I wanted to make sure that none of you are sitting around in despair. I wanted to make sure that none of you are, having this woe is me kind of attitude. I wanted to make sure that you guys hadn't given up, because while we absolutely said in July that the biggest mistake the DNC could make was nominating Hillary Clinton, we said that in July. We actually said that before July, before the convention. Even though we said that, I think in the back of many of our minds, we kind of halfway hoped that we were at least 20% wrong. And you hear my husband also laughing in the background, because all night long we have really just been watching the media pundits melt down as these results from each state came in, and what we told them was proven right over and over and over and over again. And dude, I was seriously not so sad and so amused at the same time that I was right. I have never been so upset that I was right in my life. This is honestly, it's exactly what we said would happen if the Democratic Party nominated Hillary Clinton. We were not lying. We were not silly, whiny children who did not understand politics, did not know how the game was played. We were not sore losers when we were crying in the streets, when we were crying in the streets, when we realized what had been done to Bernie Sanders at the DNC in Philadelphia. We weren't sore losers. We weren't just a bunch of political novices who didn't understand the political landscape and didn't understand the quid pro quo and the compromise that's necessary to be successful. All that stuff that was said about us. That bunch of Bernie bros. Remember how long we were all called Bernie bros? And through all of that, we tried to tell the Democratic Party that Hillary Clinton could not win against Donald Trump. The one time we actually looked at polls from the media and said, her approval percentages have dropped in 3 months by double digits. And Sanders has remained steady, double digits, defeating Trump during the same period of time. Remember those polls? I think that came from MSNBC, of all places. Remember that? We told them. And please understand something, friends. Hey, y'all, I'm trying to read some of your comments, but they're scrolling by so fast. I'm glad you all are up still. I'm glad you all are okay. But I want you to understand something. I'm not gloating. Somebody responded to something I posted on my Facebook timeline telling me, oh, you're gloating and you're being so smug. I could very well say that I am treating Democrats, the vote blues, the any blues will do's, the I'm with hers. I could very well say that I am treating them the same way they treated us after they screwed Sanders out of the nomination. I could very well say that. But that's not how I feel. They deserve it, but that's not how I feel. I'm angry. I'm absolutely angry because this is the Democrats' fault. See, they're online, on Twitter, on Facebook, they're on blogs, they're in comment sections of all kinds of articles, blaming us, blaming people who voted for third-party candidates. The interesting thing is, the third-party candidate that got the larger percentage of the third-party votes in most states wasn't Jill Stein, sadly. It was Gary Johnson. So, I could very easily say to these people who are saying that I'm gloating and that I'm being smug and, oh, well, I'm treating you exactly how you treated us. Well, it takes one to know one. You ought to know what being smug and condescending and gloating is. You are awful good at it. After your girl was coronated with the Democratic nomination, after it was taken from Sanders unfairly, I could have said that, but I didn't. What I have been doing all night, what we've been doing all night, is reminding people, point by point, detail by detail, about why we told them not to nominate this woman. Not necessarily because we dislike her so much. Let's get this straight. We don't. We dislike Hillary Clinton. We don't trust her. We dislike her. She has a horrible record. She's been a terrible politician. Having years of experience doesn't mean you're actually good at your job. It depends on what your job is. It depends on what you've been doing in your job. Hillary Clinton has been in the business of killing people and interfering in democracies and taking advantage of vulnerable people for profit for 30 years. That's what she has experience in. She just happened to do those things under official titles like First Lady and Senator of New York and Secretary of State. The job descriptions or the job titles were official. Her actions were despicable. So make no mistake. No, we do not like Hillary Clinton, but we told the Democratic Party not to nominate her because of tonight. Because the future of this country was on the line, and she wasn't the one to carry the ball for it. We knew that then. But they didn't want to listen to us. because we were just a bunch of whiny children who didn't know anything about politics, and we were naive, and we just wanted free stuff. Remember that? We just wanted free stuff. I bet you these people would love some of the free stuff that they claimed we wanted right now. So for the past, I don't know, 3-4 hours after we came from filming the last live stream at the Capitol building, we did our thing at our church, and we came home, and we said at first, not going to watch this, not going to watch it, because, you know, look, this has been all consuming for the past 18 months. It's been all consuming and can't take no more. And then the first state came in, right? And we just happened to, I happened to go onto Facebook on my phone, and the little election results banner was up there, and just out of curiosity, because I'm curious, I touched that banner, and I saw that Trump had won one state, and I said, oh, this might be interesting tonight. Maybe we should watch this. So for the past 3-4 hours, we've just been watching all of the states that Obama won in his last election go red. And we've been watching the Democratic pundits on CNN and MSNBC practically try not to cry on air. Rachel Maddow looked like she was about to burst into tears at any moment. Brian Williams, there were moments during the broadcast where he was actually stuttering. He didn't know what to say. Anderson Cooper actually asked, "What just happened here?" Van Jones at some point blamed the Russians. I like Van Jones because, you know, I agree with them on racial issues and social justice issues, but this thing with the Democrats, oh my God, it just, the most even-handed coverage of the night, hands down, came from Russia Today. We didn't even get a chance to go over and look online at Al Jazeera. We just happened to flip over to Russia Today, and I kept watching that because they actually were talking about all of the third-party candidates and their running mates, and they had former Governor Jesse Ventura on the panel too to talk about how third-party candidates can run. And they had that segment on for 2 hours before the first election results even came in, pretty much. And it was great to watch, but it was ridiculous that it was Russia Today that had more information about third-party candidates than the American liberal outlets, until, of course, the election was lost by the Democratic candidate. Then all the liberal outlets started talking about third-party candidates because they were blaming them. Oh, man, there's a lot to unpack with this. And like I said, I'm really glad that you guys are okay. I'm glad that you're up because, you know, I kind of needed some therapy talk myself because my husband and I have been sitting here laughing hysterically at how you hear him. He's still laughing. We've been laughing hysterically about the epic implosion of the Democratic Party behind a strategy that was doomed from the beginning to fail, and we tried to warn them. Excuse me. And please understand, we're not laughing because we think we look at this lightly. We know that Donald Trump being president it's gonna be, we're gonna have to see how that shakes out.
The world is nervous. Global markets already fallen.
The Dow has already fallen, what, over 700 points?
Global markets.
The global markets. I'm sorry. Global markets already fallen 700 points. And that was actually a few hours ago. It's probably much, much worse now.
Get ready for another recession.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be pretty. He said some nice things at his acceptance speech. I don't believe a word of it. We'll see. But as an African American, as a black person in this country, like we have said before, we've lived under many Donald Trumps. We've lived under worse than Donald Trump. So we're going to have to struggle no matter who is in office. We were going to have to struggle if Hillary Clinton won. Nothing will change for us. There may be some things that get worse, but there were going to be some things that would get worse under Clinton, because some things got worse under Obama. So yeah, we're not laughing because we take this lightly.
And maybe the press could stay out of our elections in the future.
Yeah, he's covered up to his neck with the blanket. So there he is. Oh, too late. and he brought up a good point. He brought up a great point. The fact that this election we feel is not just a repudiation of the American people. Sean McFarland said, "Hi, hubby." hers is in bed too. This election is not just a repudiation of the of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Republican establishment by the American people. Valerie says, "Hi, husband too."
Hi, Valerie.
We believe this election is also a repudiation of the media by the American people. Because tonight we watched pundits on CNN finally admit that maybe it wasn't the best idea to rely so much on those polls of theirs. Because clearly their polls were not correct.
And we also heard Chris Matthews finally admit Hillary's weaknesses.
That was amazing. But let me tell you something. I used to have a lot of respect for Chris Matthews. Well, okay, maybe not a lot, but I used to like to listen to him, and I could agree with some things. But to hear Chris Matthews and other Democratic media or liberal-leaning media personalities just be completely in the tank for Hillary Clinton and not question anything she said or did, and extol her virtues and basically tell us if we don't vote for her that, we're sexist, un-American pigs. To hear Chris Matthews, who was so mercilessly brutal to not just Bernie Sanders, but to his supporters and to Jill Stein and to her supporters, to hear him finally admit that the reason Hillary Clinton lost, the reason people didn't vote for her, was because of Hillary Clinton and her problems with her record. That was amazing. It's ridiculous that all it took was for her to lose the presidency to Donald Trump. How ridiculous is that? Make no mistake, friends, Donald Trump didn't really win this election. No, because we know from the Podesta emails that the DNC actually guided the media to prop up the three worst Republican Party candidates. Primarily because they knew that Hillary Clinton was such a bad candidate. The only strategy they had was to make the Republicans look worse, supposedly worse, relatively worse. So they told the media to prop up the worst three GOP candidates, and one of those three was Donald Trump. He just happened to be the one who was more savvy at finding the pulse that he needed to put his fingers on to get the American people to listen to what he had to say. And that wasn't a surprise to us, because what did we tell you about him from the beginning? Number one, he's not stupid. People kept saying Donald Trump is stupid. He's an idiot. He's an ignorant person. He's insane. He's crazy. Donald Trump is not any of those things. He's a bigot and he's a misogynist. Yes, he is. He's a tax cheat and he's probably a horrible human being, but he is not unintelligent. And um,
It also shows you the power of still being white and male in this country.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, as much as we don't want to talk about it, but look at the things that Trump's been accused of just within the last month. When it came, when it comes down to raping a kid, came down to how he treated women,
Yep.
and everything else. Yet that didn't affect him from becoming president today. Imagine President Obama 8 years ago, where somebody would have leaked out that he had the same infractions
Right.
that Trump had. And I tell you one thing, it wouldn't be just that Obama would have been maybe unfit to be president again. His crimes would be tied into what he looked like.
Right.
So he,
Right.
you know, so we really need to be honest about that conversation too. That America is still a place where, you know, if you're white male and let's put it rich,
Right.
this is
Right.
your paradise.
Exactly. And I moved a little bit closer to him, guys. I'm sorry, so that you could hear him. But what he was saying was this election is also an exercise in the benefits of white male privilege. You know, because you can be, but so was the first Clinton presidency, right? Because and the fact that we can't talk about, or we couldn't talk about, the same kinds of sexual misdeeds that Bill Clinton was involved in, because we had to focus on Donald Trump, because, you know, we had to play the game and say that Hillary Clinton was better than Donald Trump. But see, you can only do that. You can only say that about white men in this country. Everybody else goes to prison for rape. Everybody else goes to prison, doesn't stop, doesn't pass go, doesn't collect $200.
Damn sure can't be president.
And you damn sure can't be president if you are accused of rape in this country, unless you are a rich white man. That's not just Donald Trump. That's Bill Clinton too. But like I said, this wasn't so much that Donald Trump won this election. It's really the fact that the DNC and the Clinton campaign absolutely lost this sucker. They lost it. They lost this election. You know how in football games you hear that all the time. I love football. How you hear that, you know, this team didn't win the game as much as the other team lost it. They had all the skills, they had all the talent, they just got their signals crossed, and they didn't communicate with each other, and they didn't play the plays that they should have. That's what the DNC is facing right now. And it's amazing that on social media tonight, there were people, the Clinton supporters, who were blaming black people for not voting. How are you going to blame people who were the most affected by the legislation that Hillary Clinton and her husband pushed negatively, for not voting for her after you ignored what they didn't want to talk about it when we brought it up?
And let's not mention who gained the least from Obama.
And who gained the least? Hold on to that one. Remind me of that one. But you didn't want to talk about the effect that the Clinton administration's legislation had on black people, especially poor black people, in relation to Hillary's record. Didn't want to talk about that. You told black people that they had to vote for her because Donald Trump was worse and he was going to kill all the black people if we let him become president. But then you didn't want to commit to legislation helping black people in an area that we've been struggling with for decades, and that was ending the extrajudicial killings of black and brown people by law enforcement officers. Remember the memo from the Clinton campaign that told legislators not to commit to any concrete legislation when they meet with Black Lives Matter? You don't want to talk about how we've been screwed by Clinton and her husband. You tell us that we have to vote for her, or else or else the racist white guy is going to kill us all. you say that you're not going to make any promises about legislation that's going to help us in an area that is very, very serious that we've been struggling with. And now that you've lost your election, you are going to blame 9% of the voting population because you lost your election. You do realize that black people are 13% of the total population, but when we're talking about the population, the percent of the population that is eligible to vote, we're talking about around 9, maybe 8-9%. Yeah, it's our fault Clinton didn't win. And if it's not our fault, then like I said, it's the third party voters. And, you know, I talked about that. We'll talk about that some more later on today. But then the one group of people they don't want to talk about are the almost more than 40% of registered voters who did not leave their houses to vote at all in every state. You know why they don't want to talk about those people? Because they know doggone well that a lot of those people are Democrats. And Democrats didn't even bother to get out of their pajamas to go vote for Hillary Clinton. But it's our fault. And my husband, before he just turned over and gave me the signal that I need to stop talking to you so we can go to sleep, my husband just mentioned the point about the fact that black people have not gained much from 8 years of President Obama. I'm not going to say that it was a mistake for the Clinton campaign to bring Obama and his wife out to stump for him, because that was the strategy. That was the only thing they could do. It really was. Because I think they knew that their firewall of the black vote really didn't exist. So I think that President Obama and First Lady Obama were her Hail Marys. And those passes fell way short. Because I don't care what the media tells you. I remember voting in 2008 and 2012, and I stood in lines that were very long for over an hour, both times, to vote in those presidential elections. Today, we went to the polling place, and we were in and out in about 10-15 minutes. I believe the Clinton campaign knew that the black firewall really wasn't there like she said it was. Because I believe that a lot of black people have woken up to the realization that under the Obama administration, we haven't gained much. So when he comes out and speaks to a crowd of black people and says condescending and insulting and pandering things like, tell Pookie and them to get out and vote, but you couldn't get Pookie and them a job, we remember that. Maybe not all of us, but I think enough of us. I think enough of us remembered what Michelle Obama said about Hillary Clinton in 2008. Enough of us remembered what Bill and Hillary Clinton said about Barack Obama in 2008. And enough of us were really insulted that the Obamas came out and said that these people who disparaged and disrespected that man as much as they did are now telling us that she is the best person to lead this country for us. Yeah. There's so much to unpack, like I said, with this election. Like I said, I have never been more sad to be wrong in my life, I don't think. I've never been more sad to be right. I wish that we were not right. I wish we weren't proven right tonight. Friends, But I don't have anything left other than we told you so. We told you. We told you not to nominate this woman. And there was no contingency plan by the Democratic Party on what to do if she lost, because they were so arrogantly sure that there was no way that she would lose to Trump, for the reasons I just mentioned, and because of their opinions of Republicans, conservatives, and other people who voted for Trump. But it's 4:16 in the morning, and I actually have to work in a few hours. I really just wanted to check on you guys to make sure that you were okay, and to really tell you that this is not the end of anything. It's an interesting end to a very interesting election season. It is not the outcome that we wanted. It is sadly the outcome we were all very sure was going to happen. And I know that just about everybody on the Real Progressives team we are really, really sorry that we were right. But we were right. So, what we do now is exactly what I said we do when I live streamed earlier from the Capitol building. Same thing. Mission doesn't change, friends. The work doesn't change. The focus actually doesn't change. We don't change course. We don't change plans. We continue to do what we said we are setting out to do. So get some sleep. I am going to. It is going to be all right. We are going to get through this together. Do I think establishment Dems will wake up? Eventually. I think they'll snap to around the midterms. I'm hoping. I'm hoping they'll actually snap to sooner than then. But you know what? It is too late. It is too late, because the only way they could have saved their party from this utter destruction was to nominate Bernie Sanders. That was the only way they could have done it. And they chose not to. So here we are. I will talk to you guys later on today, I think. You're right, Crystal. We hit the ground running. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we prepare for the struggle, however long that will take. I'm glad you guys are okay. Go to sleep. Talk to you later on. Good night. Or good morning.
Building it brick by brick.